Good morning, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Balkumari Probe Commission submits its report on the incident. Report states Minister Jwala, DSP and PSO failed in maintaining security. Minister accused of lacking seriousness. Cooperatives, the third pillar of economy, plagued with issues. Government remains indifferent in addressing it. Analysts call for clarity from the state. Court of Justice demands implementation of Gaza measures but declines South Africa's request for urgent measures to safeguard Palestinians threatened by Israeli assault. Men's national cricket team taking on the Netherlands in the ICC World Cricket League 2 series. Nepal fielding first, having won the toss, and the match underway at TU Cricket Ground in Kantipur. The commission formed to probe into the unfortunate Balkumari incident on 29th of December last year that resulted in the death of 2 youths has submitted its report, which concludes that Minister for Physical Infrastructure and Transport Management Prakash Jwala, DSP Umesh Lamsal and PSO Bodhraj Danuar are responsible for the incident going out of hands. Submitting the report to the Minister for Home Affairs, Narayan Kaji Shrestha, the commission has recommended for actions against Minister Jwala. The report also suggests that Minister Jwala should take responsibility for the turn of events. According to the commission sources, DSP Lamsal, who was field commander during the incident, and Minister Jwala's PSO Danuar were also responsible for it. It states Minister Jwala's visit to the protest site had escalated the situation, resulting in the deaths of 2 youths as police used maximum force after protesters torched the minister's vehicle. The youths had staged the protests in Balkumari in the capital, demanding for a chance to apply for Korean language tests. The Council of Ministers had then formed a probe commission on 1st of January, which submitted its report in 44 days' time. Nepal has adopted economic policies with the 3 pillars of public, private and cooperatives. However, the third pillar of the economy, cooperatives, is now in a pity condition. Failure in addressing the issues that have surfaced in the cooperatives in recent time has raised questions regarding if the government is adopting a 2-pillar policy by ignoring the cooperatives. Except for conducting studies regarding the problems of cooperative sector, the state has not made any other effort so far. This has raised questions regarding if the state is willing to adopt a 2-pillar policy of public and private by ignoring the cooperatives. With the objective of strengthening the national economy, the Constitution of Nepal has identified the cooperatives as the third pillar of economy. The National Charter states that the cooperatives are to be promoted in the principles and policies and deployed for national development. However, despite the lapse of several years since the cooperatives became problematic, the state has failed in ensuring appropriate measures to address the issues. Cooperatives Act 2017 had mentioned no provision of loan for an individual who failed in paying the loan of one cooperative from another, and had also arranged for Loan Information Center, which has yet to be instituted. Minister for Land Management, Cooperatives and Poverty Alleviation, Ranjita Shrestha, had promised of establishing Cooperative Savings and Credit Safety Fund with the victims of cooperatives who had resorted to protest some 7 months ago. The process did not move forward as the Ministry of Finance did not allocate any budget. Depositors have not been able to withdraw their savings as those who had taken loans from the cooperatives have not paid them back. Problems have surfaced as despite the provision of recovering funds from those who had taken loans in the Act, the government is yet to implement it. A total of 31,373 cooperatives are in operation across the country. Of them, around 500 operating against the principles are not in a condition to return the savings of depositors. The government has also remained indifferent in correcting the widespread irregularities in the cooperative sector, which the experts say has led to the failure in creating employment opportunities and contributing to the economy. The government has clearly failed in regulating the cooperative sector. Instead of investments from cooperatives landing in the productive sector, funds have been focused on the real estate sector and the share market, while arbitrary release of loans by the operators have led to crisis. In such a scenario, the government indifference in addressing the problems of cooperatives hints towards no priority for the third pillar of the economy. It is time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, why has the government, which has adopted 3 pillars of economy, ignored the cooperatives? Your options are A. Indifference towards depositors, B. Lack of clear policies, and C. Lack of coordination. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Now, the verdict by special court on the Lalita Niwas land scam that gave clean sheet to former ministers while convicting public officials has raised a question if corruption is just limited to public officials and if political leadership do not have any hands in irregularities. The special court has invited widespread criticism for allegedly giving impunity to political leaders. The special court this week gave clean chit to former Deputy Prime Minister Vijay Kumar Gachadar and former ministers Dambar Shrestha, Chandra Dev Joshi and former Land Reform Secretary Dinesh Hari Adhikari, saying that just because the minister approved the proposal does not justify their ill intention. The special court has also stated there were not enough basis to convict ministers as the corruption watchdog CIAA had itself not made any such demands for action, saying that policy decisions taken by the Council of Ministers did not fall under its jurisdiction. Analysts say it is doubtful to say that corruption takes place without political protection and that verdicts like the ones in Lalita Niwas land scam raises plenty eyebrows. Similar verdicts have been witnessed previously in many corruption cases. For instance, in the infamous Sudan scam, former IGP Om Bikram Rana, Hem Bahadur Gurung and former AIG Deepak Singh Thangden and former DIG Deepak Shrestha were handed prison sentences. However, the then Home Minister Krishna Prasad Sitola was not even investigated to ascertain his involvement as the authority did not list him as defendants despite allegations. Likewise, in the Lauda aircraft scandal, the then Civil Aviation Minister Tarini Datta Chataud was acquitted. However, Executive Director Hari Bhakta Shrestha and Executive Committee member Tirthalal Shrestha were convicted. All the cases so far have set a precedent that public officials are involved in corruption while no political leaders are. Chief Minister of Madhya Province Saroj Kumar Yadav is to take vote of confidence tomorrow. Despite Nepali Congress and CPN Mao Centre's claim of the government in the province following Janamat's exit, Minister Yadav is to take the floor test after top leaders agreed for it. The members of the Provincial Assembly have been informed of the vote of confidence scheduled for tomorrow as the Chief Minister sent official letter to the Provincial Assembly Secretariat. Minister Yadav was required to take the floor test within 30 days as per constitutional provision after 2 ministers from Janamat quit the government in the province. The provincial government is preparing to appoint ministers to the vacant posts after the confidence vote. In more than 1 year that Yadav has served in the post, he has been criticized by the ruling parties itself for failing to work as per public's expectations, taking decisions without consulting partners of the alliance, appointing officials at different commissions by himself, among others. Now, area police of Butwal have nabbed chairperson of Supreme Savings and Loan Cooperatives along with the manager for Bhairawa branch for financial irregularity worth over 1 billion rupees. The arrestees are chairperson of the cooperatives Om Prakash Gurung and Bhairawa branch manager Durga Chapagai Pandya. Gurung was arrested on Thursday and Pandya yesterday. Founder chairperson Gitendra Bahadur GB Rai has meanwhile been absconding. The cooperatives has been alleged of mishandling more than 1,078 million rupees of 10,391 depositors from Rupandehi and adjoining districts. Time now for international update. The International Court of Justice ICJ has said that it does not see the need for additional emergency measures to protect Palestinians' rights following Israel's Rafah offensive. The court said the perilous situation in the Gaza Strip and in Rafah particularly demands immediate and effective implementation of the provisional measures per its order on the January 26th and does not demand the indication of additional provisional measures. The decision comes after South Africa asked the World Court to consider whether Israel's plan to extend its offensive in Gaza into the city of Rafah requires additional emergency measures to protect Palestinians' rights earlier this month. Thousands of people attended the funeral of Ali al-Debs, a commander in Hezbollah's elite Radwan unit who was targeted and killed in an Israeli strike in Nabatiyeh on Wednesday, along with a number of civilians, and which triggered a series of rockets fired into Israel overnight in retaliation. The Iran-backed Hezbollah leader, Saeed Nasrallah, in a speech later yesterday said Israel would pay a price in blood for attacks this week in which 10 Lebanese civilians were killed, indicating the risk of an intensification of the conflict that has been rumbling across the Lebanese-Israeli border since the Gaza war erupted in October. Israel said it would remove Hezbollah from the border if diplomacy failed. The Israeli military said it carried out a precise airstrike on Lebanon on Wednesday, which killed Hezbollah commanders and operatives. It has not commented on civilian deaths. It has previously said it does not target civilians. Hezbollah has been trading fire for more than 4 months with the Israeli military in support of its Palestinian ally Hamas, which carried out a deadly attack on Israel on October 7 that was met with an Israeli land, air and sea assault on Gaza. The violence has killed more than 200 people in Lebanon, including more than 170 Hezbollah fighters, as well as around a dozen Israeli troops and 5 Israeli civilians, as well as uprooting tens of thousands on both sides. U.S. President Joe Biden has blamed Russian President Vladimir Putin for Alexei Navalny's death and warned that there could be consequences, saying he was not surprised but outraged by the opposition leader's passing. Biden also said he was contemplating additional steps to punish Russia in the aftermath of Navalny's death, paying tribute to the opposition leader for bravely standing up to Putin's government's corruption and violence. French President Emmanuel Macron said Navalny's death showed Kremlin's weakness and its fear of all opponents. Candlelit vigils have been held in Moscow, Lisbon, Rome, Munich, among other parts of the world in memory of Navalny. Police have arrested a number of protesters as well. The Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny died in jail, the country's prison service said yesterday, in what is likely to be seen as a political assassination attributable to Vladimir Putin. 47-year-old Navalny, one of Putin's most visible and persistent critics, was being held in a jail about 40 miles north of the Arctic Circle, where he had been sentenced to 19 years under a special regime. Supporters of the Grand Democratic Alliance GDA parties protested in Pakistan's southern Sindh province, blocking a main highway against alleged poll rigging in the country's recently concluded election. GDA leaders and supporters gathered and staged a sit-in at Jamshoro Toll Plaza at Hyderabad Jamshoro interchange, demanding free and fair results. The Grand Democratic Alliance GDA is a regionalist political alliance based in Sindh, Pakistan. It was founded on 23rd of October 2017 as a movement against the Pakistan People's Party government in Sindh, accusing it of poor governance, fascism and corruption. The protest comes a day after workers and supporters of different political parties in Quetta blocked all the main highways linking Balochistan with other provinces in protest over what they say was vote rigging. Pakistan voted in national and provincial elections on February 8th, but the polls were marred by accusations of rigging to defeat independent candidates backed by jailed ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan. The caretaker government and Pakistan's Election Commission have rejected the allegation and said the country has laws and systems to investigate specific complaints. Pakistan's election last week did not return a clear majority for anyone, but independent candidates backed by Imran Khan won 92 out of 264 seats, making them the largest group. Thailand's Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has said jailed former Thai Premier Thaksin Shinawatra will be released on 18th of February. Thaksin has been in hospital detention since August after making a dramatic homecoming from living abroad for 15 years in self-exile to avoid prison for a conflict of interest. He had his 8-year jail term commuted to a year by the king after his return and has served 6 months in hospital detention due to an undisclosed health condition. A former policeman and telecoms magnate who has been at the center of a tumultuous two-decade battle for power in Thailand, Thaksin was on a list of 930 prisoners who were considered elderly or ill and approved for parole, according to media reports. It was until now not certain when he would be freed. February 18 is the first day of his parole eligibility. Egypt has scuttled a controversial plan to reinstall ancient granite cladding on the pyramid of Menkaure, the smallest of the three great pyramids of Giza. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities, announced the plan last month, declaring it would be the project of the century. But news that the ancient monument might be altered quickly drew an international outcry, prompting Egypt's Antiquities Authority to review the project. The pyramids are the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that still remain. Alone among the pyramids, Menkaure was designed to be clad in granite rather than limestone. Only 16 to 18 layers of granite were installed before construction was halted, apparently because of Menkaure's death in about 2503 BC. Over the centuries, piffering, weathering and collapse caused many layers to disappear, leaving only 7 layers in modern times, although numerous fallen granite blocks remain strewn around the pyramid's base. Waziri said the project to replace the granite would proceed only after a year of scanning and documentation. Zahi Hawass, a former Minister of Antiquities who headed the committee, said it would be impossible to determine where each block had originally been. Replacing them would also require cement, which would ruin the pyramid. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.